I really want to thank James, right? It's a pain in the ass to put these events together, so hats off to you, my man. What I want to talk about today is it's really kind of like what I've learned. I've been active in the sales world. I started at Salesforce.com and been active in like the sales world and like watching sales things in the world for, let's just call it like 15 years. Really focused on predictable revenue 10 years ago when I got married. So it's long to start to see some trends. And I'm seeing some things that are really concerning at a human level. And I don't think these are gonna, and I'll talk about these, these are these uber trends and what's happening in the world with people. And this will affect sales, but really there's things happening to people. And I've been in a unique position to see things, not only like there's clients, there's myself, my family, my kids, and putting all these kind of data points together or experiences or anecdotes together, and share some observations on where I see things going and the problems. Of course, there's always opportunities. But let me talk about some of kind of the uber trends. And again, there's things that were going to happen regardless of the pandemic, right? So, and these have been things I've been quite talking about, and I'm sure people have been talking about for 10 years, 20 years, maybe even 30 years. Technology has created this information overwhelm, right? It's easier than ever to create apps, which then means so more apps, more channels, more messages across more channels, more overwhelm, right? There's the world of opportunity. Like, you're coming out of college today. You could do anything you want. Great. However, there's also a world of overwhelm and paralysis. You're a revenue executive, or let's say whoever you sell to, they have almost like infinite choice of things they could do, or apps they could use, or techniques, like drowning in information. They're drowning in, like, I know the problem. I'm frustrated. Like, what do I do? There used to be one answer or 3 answers. Now there's 1,000 answers. So that's one uber trend, kind of overwhelm, aka opportunity, overwhelm, paralysis. Then, and that was going to happen regardless. Then we get the pandemic. Okay, so stuff that was going to happen over 10 or 20 years, screen time went from some portion of people's lives, okay, teens, high, older, whatever, and from this amount of people's lives to this. That has a real emotional human effect on people. And speaking as someone I've been working remote for like 10 years, don't always like it. I mean, there's advantages, but I got, teenagers. And so one thing I can guarantee, I'm sure some people have probably studied this, and if they haven't studied, they will. But this is something where I know, I just see it. More screen time, communicating people like we are now, less time in person, it's like a disconnection it's like an ungrounding. I'm not sure how to explain it. There's probably shamans and things you can explain it better. But do you ever get sick of being on screens? Like tired of being on Zoom? Fantastic. You don't have to travel as much. I actually like that. There's a lot of advantages to being able to do this, but when you're doing it, it's unbalanced. That's a problem. Now people are able to get together in person a bit more. For those of you who've done that, it doesn't feel like, wow, there's like a kind of energy or release, or like we need that as humans to be able to see other people and do things together with them in person. Have that in some sort of balance with this concept, right? People will be different. Some people are okay with 80% screen, 20% in person, or vice versa. But that is the issue. That's the second of the trend. Third one, again, is now we're going to work from home, to be in the office, like home, push myself to low down. When should I be working? When should I not? When should I, this confusion, this internal emotional confusion. And all this stuff was going to happen with the rise of technology. It was just going to happen over a much longer period of time, and the pandemic accelerated it all like it hit a wall. The great news is it's a chance, like a lot of the world's old habits, just because they were there, because they were habits like the 9 to 5 days a week, we have a chance to revisit that and have people can kind of choose, and companies can choose, should we do this as a company and team, or should we do something different, right? There's one last kind of Uber trend, which is this trend of spectrums. The spectrum trend, it's like, again, we used to have the binary, you work from home or you work at the office. There were some exceptions, basically. Just like we used to have the binary, where you male. Now we have a spectrum of genders, a spectrum of sexualities, whether you're straight or gay, whatever your label is. Now there's a lot of variety. Gender, sexuality, probably other spectrums. Now we have a work spectrum. Instead of are you at home or at the office, basically 40 hours a week, whatever your hours is, are you 10%, 90%, are you working late, early? This is blank page, which is great. You're going to figure right if this is a person. How if you want to work when. But again, it's completely confusing. What do I do? How do I find my system? I don't know where I fit it. So the bottom line is there's this incredible overwhelm, this emotional load, this emotional drag. Sorry, James, if that sounds wrong. I think the background, I feel like the background noise went down.
Yeah, that's better. Whatever you did just then, it helped.
Okay, I just turned my own volume up.
Okay.
Shouldn't do anything, but
well, it seems fun. Okay. Cheers.
Where we are in this world where long time ago, food and safety was there's a drought of food and safety. And then there became a drought of information. And today, at least in the first world, and lots of parts in the world, we're swimming in food, safety, and information. I know there's lots of problems in the world where that's not the case, but let's talk about people on this call swimming in food, safety, and information. That's not the problem. Information is commoditized. You can find whatever you want on the web. All this comes down to, we've got this, as the COVID pandemic starts to lift, what we're gonna see, we're already seeing now, and we're going to see an emotional pandemic. With you, with your clients, with your prospects, with your salespeople. This is gonna be the #1 challenge companies are gonna face internally. Right? This is gonna affect sales, it affects everything. Everything else is gonna be there, like development. This is like, we've talked about taking care of ourselves and employees in the past and being human. Now we actually we can't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. It's not gonna be an option. Another example of this means that instead of time, like the time-based, we have this like, well, how do we measure who's doing what? Like, well, I don't know. So the new bottleneck is not time, it's energy. Now, I've been going through this myself. Going from 0 to 9 kids in 7 years, and we do have 10, but having kind of 2 babies at once, and half our kids are adopted. Like my energy, there are a lot of years where it was just shit. So I had the time. There's probably a couple of years where time really was the bottleneck, where like literally between babies, schools, kids. But in general, energy is my bottleneck, not time. And when you or your clients have low energy, when I have low energy, like I just can't get anything real. I mean, I can do basic tasks. I can clean my room, but to create anything interesting or useful, to have like more beneficial conversations, whether it's for work or not, it's very hard. It's that drag. Mental health has always been there. Now it's going to be, it's exacerbated. Even, whether it's mental health, whether it's emotional health, whatever you're going to call it, there's a blend there. That's something I really appreciate. For example, with James, right? James has been open about, sorry if I get this wrong, bipolar. I mean, everyone's got some version of something. Right? So, and we've pretended to not, because that was we have to have our reputation so people can trust us to do business. And that's going to slowly, bit by bit change over time. Where today we don't feel like we can be open and honest about, we can only talk about all the great things we've done, and we can't really share all the shit we have, because y'all have it, I've got it. Anyone who doesn't, there might be someone who's got everything together for a bit, that'll change. This is all lessons from my teens. And I see this too, because my teens are like a canary in the coal mine, right? All this stuff affects them even more. They're like little baby chicks, and like the screen time. And so I'm seeing this, and then I saw it with clients, like, and so again, this idea that life is supposed to be perfect, or like business is perfect, or there's like Elon Musk is perfect, or whatever these ideals. It's incredibly harmful emotionally to people, including in us, but especially to the teens, because they see this social media, and there's lots of great things about social media, but this is one challenge, which is we consciously, unconsciously compare ourselves to these perfect ideals. So all this starts to come down to, what do we do? And again, what I'm going through myself is this is like refining my energy. How do I like enjoy, how do I get rid of things I don't like about work, and how do I enjoy work and work with people I like and have routines that work for me? So I'm going through this and have been for a few years. I'm going to create some new content around this to basically lead by example within my family and teams. And I'll go through like, what do I think people need to do about this? So do I have like a 5-step system? I don't have a 5-step system. And honestly, I feel like that just creates more like I don't feel like what I don't want and what people don't need is, here's like the 5 steps to do stuff, which honestly feels like more work. Like if for those of you or your clients that are in that just, I don't have a better term, emotional drought, emotional desert, energy desert, feeling like there's more work, it doesn't help. So like, how can you make them feel like, okay, bring some energy, enthusiasm, and not kind of, yeah, attitude is part of that, but attitude can like carry you so far. At some point you need to, again, if you're doing work you don't like or with people you don't like, attitude can get you to that. But at some point, how can you change it? You need to change that to actually get real energy versus kind of fake until you make it. So here's some things that, some ideas and where I'm playing with that work for me. So first, I would say you got to lead by example. I'm speaking to especially the executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs. If you're feeling like you're in a drag, your team, there's definitely people on your team that do too, and clients, they may not admit it. So as soon as you start to be more open and honest about what you're dealing with and not feel like you have to hide something and kind of like box yourself in, then it's going to be easier for them to do that too, to kind of like bring up to the surface issues that people are dealing with. Because if they've got either themselves like a mental health issue or someone in their family or something else is going on, that affects them and who they are and what they can bring to work. So be able to, again, learn appropriately, like talk about what's going on. Not everything needs to be talked about, but like, when is it appropriate? Not trying to say we're going to fit into this work box. Personal stuff, I'm not allowed to talk about. Either it's embarrassing or, I have a teenage son who's going through like depression, anxiety, a whole bunch of shit. I know there's adults who go through that. I think it's again, the start of people being more open about that, which is only a good thing. So that's one step, lead by example. If you're feeling like you're dragging and what do you need to do? Like, how can you start to do that and share with your team at the right time what you're doing to get yourself together or like get some improvement? Is that a different routine? Is it a different way of working? Because again, they're going to follow your lead. You talking about you will set the example. That's number one. We're getting the spectrum. Self-care is different for everybody. Work is different for everybody. Giving people more opportunity to write their own ticket and how they do what they do, when they do it. Still have some boundaries. Do they come in 3 days a week to an office or not? 5 days? And realize it can take a while to figure out a new system. I mean, it always just takes longer than people want it to. But like making sure that people, encouraging them again by example and supporting them in some form of self-care, whatever that looks like. Could be emotional, could be letting them talk about stuff. It could be benefits. The third, human bonding. Again, it's kind of this being more comfortable, being open and vulnerable about what's going on with you as a leader. And this is to clients too. All right, it's people again, when you're overwhelmed, where we're going is everyone's based on trust. Do they respect you? Do they understand you? Because there's going to be 20 things that look just like you. So do they respect you as people? And being open about things you're dealing with can add to that trust and respect. Being open and honest. So again, with James, that's something I really appreciate. you being so open and honest about yourself and what you deal with as a professional.